Ladies and gentlemen, based on the information recently released by the United States Air Force regarding the Pacific Rim exercise, rarely appears yet possesses tremendous power, has once again come into view. This weapon is the AC-130G Ghost Rider, the legendary gunship. Armed with a 30mm automatic cannon and a 105mm cannon mounted on the aircraft, the AC-130G, together with allied units, successfully sank a decommissioned amphibious assault ship, demonstrating its overwhelming firepower as a heavy gunship platform. However, according to the latest plans of the United States Air Force, the 105mm cannon on the AC-130 may be removed in the future. So, what is the reason behind this decision? Today, let us take a closer look at the flying fortress known as the AC-130. The AC-130 gunship was developed by a leading U.S. defense contractor as a specialized variant of the C-130 transport aircraft. Its role is no longer cargo transportation. Instead, it has been transformed into a dedicated close air support platform capable of long-duration loitering, area control, and sustained ground fire support while carrying a full weapons load. At this point, some may wonder whether the AC-130 is simply an enlarged version of the A-10. In reality, both the A-10 and the AC-130 are aircraft specifically designed for close air support missions. Both are capable of remaining within controlled airspace for extended periods of time, and both feature iconic onboard cannons. They have even appeared together in various works of popular culture. However, it must be emphasized that although the A-10 is also a classic platform, if one truly searches for an aircraft comparable to the A-10 in the close air support role, there are still several alternatives worldwide. The most representative example is the Su-25 ground attack aircraft developed by the Sukhoi Design Bureau. These aircraft all feature heavy ground attack firepower, armored protection, and are optimized for subsonic flight missions. Yet, when compared to the A-10, if one attempts to find a larger aircraft dedicated to ground fire support, like the AC-130, there is virtually no true equivalent. Naturally, Russia has also attempted to replicate the AC-130 concept and sought to develop its own flying gunship. But when we examine these efforts in hindsight, it becomes clear that they were ultimately unsuccessful. For example, in June 2019, Russian media reported that domestic defense enterprises were developing a gunship aircraft similar to the AC-130. This new aircraft was planned to be based on the An-12 transport platform and equipped with two 57mm automatic cannons, along with additional smaller caliber weapons to meet the Russian military's requirements for close air support aircraft. At first glance, Russia's idea of imitating the AC-130 appears reasonable in certain respects. Both the An-12 and the C-130 are four-engine turboprop transport aircraft of comparable size. However, the C-130 is approximately 6 tons heavier than the An-12, as it was designed to provide greater transport capability, resulting in a more robust airframe. This structural strength allows the C-130 to more easily accommodate additional weaponry during conversion. In terms of flight performance, both aircraft have a maximum speed of roughly 600 kilometers per hour, with loitering patrol speeds exceeding 500 kilometers per hour. Such subsonic flight characteristics enable superior airspace control, which is precisely what ground forces require. An aircraft capable of prolonged loitering and sustained fire support, rather than a supersonic platform that rapidly passes over the battlefield. Next, we need to examine in greater detail why Russia has been so persistent in attempting to develop its own version of the AC-130. The reasons go far deeper than a simple desire to imitate a successful American weapon system. To put it bluntly, this is a matter of operational assurance. At its core, the Russian military's interest in a gunship similar to the AC-130 stems from the aircraft's unique method of combat. More specifically, it lies in the effective use of large quantities of unguided weapons. Since the AC-130A entered service with the U.S. military in 1968, this family of gunships has undergone more than 50 years of continuous tactical refinement. During this time, the U.S. military has developed a high level of proficiency in employing unguided munitions. The targeting principles, ballistic calculations, and engagement procedures associated with these weapons have been refined to a remarkable degree of accuracy, validated repeatedly through real-world combat operations. In simple terms, even today, the AC-130 does not rely on a traditional fire control radar to lock onto targets. Instead, the crew uses direct visual observation to aim and deliver unguided munitions onto enemy positions. For the Russian military, which has long depended heavily on unguided weapons, this approach is particularly attractive. If Russia were able to field its own AC-130 type aircraft, it could meet operational combat requirements while simultaneously reducing the cost of weapons employment, achieving two objectives at once. This raises an important question. Why does the AC-130 not require a fire control radar and still succeed in using unguided weapons to accomplish its missions? The answer is closely tied to its distinctive tactical concept. All of the primary weapons mounted on the AC-130, including the 20mm M61 Vulcan cannons, the 40mm Bofors L60 cannon, and the 105mm M102 howitzer, are installed along the left side of the aircraft. As a result, during an attack run, the AC-130 banks its left side toward the target and flies in a continuous circular orbit. In this maneuver, the aircraft fires its weapons while maintaining a steady orbit around the enemy, creating a trajectory similar to the moon circling the Earth. This side-mounted weapons layout, combined with the circular attack pattern, not only maximizes lethality, but also significantly extends the duration of sustained fire compared to traditional straight-line attack runs. Moreover, throughout this entire engagement process, no conventional fire control radar is involved. The crew relies on visual targeting methods to identify enemy forces and conduct attacks. These visual targeting systems include low-light television sensors, the AN/ASQ-145 system, laser rangefinders such as the AN/ASQ-19, and other supporting equipment. Together, these systems allow the crew to calculate firing parameters with high precision. For AC-130 crews, these devices function more like cameras and ballistic computers than radar-based fire control systems. In other words, when the AC-130 engages a target, the weapons are not guided automatically. Instead, the crew operates much like aerial snipers, visually tracking targets through optical sights, with all firing decisions made directly by human operators. Even in situations where modern sensors are limited or partially degraded, the AC-130 can still rely on its fixed, side-mounted cannons to conduct effective attacks. By flying a tight circular pattern around the target area, the aircraft is able to deliver precise and continuous fire support to friendly ground forces. As recently as 2024, upgraded versions of the AC-130 have continued to receive relatively simple panoramic optical sights designed to further stabilize aiming. According to images released by the United States Air Force, these sights are installed on the left side of the cockpit, directly within the pilot's field of view. When the crew of an AC-130 wishes to engage targets with its cannons, the process can be as intuitive as operating a large-caliber firearm. At first glance, this concept may appear difficult to believe. However, there is precedent for such practices within the U.S. Air Force. For example, some F-15 fighter pilots have been known to prepare rifle-style optical sights inside the cockpit to assist with visual target acquisition. Although the exact methods by which pilots employ infantry-style optics remain unclear, these devices can indeed provide a degree of long-range visual identification. If you found this analysis useful and insightful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss future episodes. Your support is what motivates me to continue bringing you in-depth analysis and strategic perspective. I'm Hai. Thank you sincerely for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Thank you, and goodbye.